Hey there, everybody, and welcome to part 9 of Introduction to Geometry Nodes, the only series that gets you from knowing nothing, beginner, basics, all the way to getting advanced in geometry nodes to the point where anything you can think of, anything you set your mind to, you can actually create. So, in the last 9 parts, technically, since it started at 0, we went from knowing nothing to making a snowman that is animated and jumping up and down. So, let me actually get to that scene. We have our snowman and it's jumping up and down, etc., etc. And I said that finally in this finale, what we're going to do is we are going to go back to the parameters we've exposed, this arm rotation that makes the hands flail, and this hat bobble, and I would add that to the animation so that we have a fully procedural snowman made out of a cube that is also jumping up and down with its hat flailing and arms moving. So let's do that. It turns out that for the arm rotation and for the hat bobble, it's going to be pretty much the same procedure, right? It's going to be time, sine functions, etc. In fact, for the hat bobble, what we can do is we can retake we can consolidate, we can take some of the nodes from before where we have time going at a speed of 5 and put it on the hat bobble. And what I like about this, by the way, is that it's using the same time multiplier. So if it's jumping at a speed of 5, it's also going to be doing stuff with the hat at a speed of 5. But you can see what this is doing is the hat is kind of just starting at 0, which you can see means it's resting inside the sphere. And it's going up, 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 and it kind of goes forever. So what I wanted to do is the hat is supposed to, let's do this as a separate math node, the hat is supposed to bobble. And we know that one way to have it go up and down is with a sine function. So it will be a little hard to see because it's inside the body, but this is exactly that. We had a sine function. Now, why is it inside the body, right? When it's 0, or 0 shouldn't be up top here, right? On top of the head. Well, notice that our hat bobble was set to 2.8 by default. That's where it's sitting on the head. So what I want to do is I want to take the sine function, and instead of going from -1 to 1 as our input, again, we're using map range each time to remap our -1 to 1 gradient to something else. It should go from a minimum of 2.8 to a maximum of, let's say, 4. So it's going to go from resting state 2.8 up to 4. And let's see what that looks like. So you can see this hat's jumping at the same speed. To make it kind of flow with the rest of this, I'm going to set this to smoother step because that's what we did for the rest of these. And that's a bit too high. Let's make it go up to 3.5. And we can always change the number for this. Okay, beautiful. Hat is jumping. And you could also add rotation and all this, but you'd have to go into the settings here, and we didn't expose that as a parameter, so we'll just leave it be. We have that. And finally, we want to make our arms rotate. And instead of doing that sinusoidally, like we did back here with the sine function, let's use, again, a noise texture. So we're going to use a noise texture for the arm rotation. You can see it's giving a red input because what we're doing right now is outputting a kind of three-dimensional, different at every point factor. We haven't really talked about this. Either way, you want to make this one-dimensional. That's what's going to work. We have a one-dimensional input. You want a one-dimensional output. So, and there's a bit more going on here. There's stuff to do with fields. Don't worry about it. We'll get to it. But what I want to do is I want to animate this W slider that's going to affect the arm wiggle over time. We can reconsolidate. I don't know. Consolidate's not the right word. We can recycle our seconds node, our time input. Again, we always want to divide this by something like 10 when we're using a noise texture, and you can kind of tell the arms are moving, but not really. I find that our noise texture, even though it goes from 0 to 1, tends to hover between values between 0.4 and 0.6, so very close to 0.5. So if we take 0.4 to 0.6 and we remap it from -1 to 1, you're going to see our hands moving a lot more. I think more realistically, 0.3 to 0.7. I want my arms to flail a bit faster, so I'm going to make time go a bit faster. And there we go. It's beautiful. By the way, why did I go from -1 to 1, you might be asking? Well, by default, our arm rotation state is set at 0. When we make it positive, it goes upwards. When we make it negative, it goes downwards. And I want both to be accessible, which is why I'm doing this. But look at this. We literally made, I'm going into render mode. And let's move this light up and to the side. We literally made kind of a nice, not realistic, but low poly snowman that animates and has a lot of character to it, all with math. So this is the power of geometry nodes. So we've done the hat jumping and the arms flailing. So let's do a bit of an outro here. So far, what you've learned in level 1, and this is the end of level 1, and in the next level, we're going to be talking about curves and point distribution and stuff like that, and we're going to make a donut is going to be our project instead of a snowman. What you've learned so far is what geometry nodes is, what some of the nodes are, how to connect them, which connections to make certain things, like a snowman, and some complicated set position stuff, turning cubes into other objects, how to animate, etc. So, hopefully you enjoyed level 1. Level 2 I will be uploading soon. Either I'm going to record it tomorrow or I'm going to take a tiny bit of a break. But that is the essence of it. If you've enjoyed what I've made and you want the final blend file for this project, Patreon is the place to do that, whether you want the blend file or you just want to support what I do. There's a link in the description for Patreon, and I've waited till the very end to plug it. So I will see you in the next tutorial series. Thank you to all my active patrons, and hopefully you understand geometry nodes a bit better. Let me know in the comments.